Hari Om. Good evening, everyone. So today I'm outside on mobile data. So I will keep it only as a voice only class. I'll not come on video so that there are no disruptions. Somehow in the evening, the data speed goes down. Yeah. Okay. And also today is about Shravana Manana and all that. So it's better for Shravana. There is less visual and more audio. We'll begin with our Shanti Mantra. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhetamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Today I will deal with a question that I received 1 week back. So the very next day I got a prompt for the discussion today. They asked about Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. It's if there are and explain the process of doing Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, and if there are any recommended verses from Gita, Upanishads, and Mahavakyas. First, I will answer the second part of the question. There is nothing like recommended verses because the Prasthanatraya, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Shruti Prasthana, Bhagavad Gita, Smriti Prasthana, and Brahma Sutra is Nyaya Prasthana. So these three are the main core of the Vedantic study material. So the Shravana is to be done for all these three and systematically. For Manana, there will be some shlokas which strike a chord with you based on your samskaras, etc. Based on your predisposition. Samskaras means here predisposition. Based on what strikes a chord with you, some things will stick to the mind. For example, when I was in the early days, when I was listening, mostly Atma Vishaya related things, mostly the Jnana related things used to make a deeper impression than the Bhakti related things. Bhakti also, where it is explaining the nature of Ishvara. So these kind of things used to make more impression on me. But there are people for whom Shravanam about Bhagwan and his Leela, like Bhagavata Katha and all that, that makes a huge impression for them. The Bhava is more in the Bhakti. So it depends on the individual. So really, another person, maybe your personal guru, can recommend, but it is not advisable, in my understanding, it is not advisable to select verses from Shastra and say, these are the recommended verses, you do Shravana of this. So who am I to choose and reject the verses of Shastra? So Shastra is a complete body of knowledge. So if you take Bhagavad Gita, it is Upanishad Saram. So no teacher has a right to say you do, these verses I will recommend. So what will happen is, as it is, we are very lazy. We have time for every kind of nonsense other than contemplation on the self, or on moksha vishaya related study or reflection or discussion to I'm sure to allot this 1 hour to come and sit here. I'm sure so many of you must have gone through so much of difficulties to be able to make this 1 hour like quality time, to make yourself be available for this. So so what happens is, we are always looking for shortcut. There are even camps these days, 3 days enlightenment camp. I have seen a poster, some Ananda, with not a traditional, no traditional acharya will do this. Some pop-up self-made guru, where some famous guy. So he has this 3 days enlightenment. So these kind of things are there. Then there is one fellow, instant enlightenment. All kinds of enlightenment. So this is this is called this satsang. This all these pop-up people, they just give some satsangs and the instant enlightenment and all that. Okay, no problem. So because of that, what will happen is, if we recommend a verse, we might have a tendency to do only that, and we might develop a tendency to postpone or ignore. Best case scenario, postpone; worst case scenario, ignore a proper, systematic, complete study of the Shastra. Right? So you will think that this verse is very important. For example, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja is there, 18th chapter. Renounce everything and take refuge in me alone. Aham tva sarvapapabhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Very famous verse. If I tell only that, that verse alone is enough. These are all, it's called in our tradition, it is called Arthavada. Marketing. These are all marketing. When you talk about these verses in an exaggerated way, it is exaggerating the benefit of one portion in order to drive home its importance. These should not be taken literally. For example, there is a very famous saying. It says, Mandukya Upanishad alone is enough for enlightenment. That way, if we see, for a Uttama Adhikari, for a person who has all the sadhana chatushtaya, the fourfold qualifications, we have discussed it elaborately. Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutva, Samadhi, Shatka, Sampatti. So we have discussed in a few classes. So those qualities, a person who possesses all those qualities and who has gone through the proper religious life and purified mind and all that, with the right pramana buddhi and everything, surrender, shraddha, all that, for that person, if you take that, like Sarvadharma, Mandukya eva alam. So if they say for enlightenment, Mandukya alone is enough. Similarly, there is also another statement for Uttama Adhikari that we talked about now. Just hearing Tattvamasi alone is enough for enlightenment. So all these are there. But these are all called Arthavada. Arthavada means an exaggerated statement to emphasize the point. So these are not to be taken literally. So when we talk about Shravana, Shravana means listening. What is listening? How to listen? Especially when you are listening to Vedanta, what this listening literally means, we will come to that. First, we will look at that. So before going to that, I wanted to emphasize that this recommending specific verses, I would not recommend that approach at all. After one has studied properly, one may choose a few verses according to one's samskara, according to one's contemplation need, or as one has a samvada, a discussion with one's own acharya, the teacher, whoever is teaching you. If you want to handle certain aspects, some aspects are not clear, if you want to reinforce certain aspects of your understanding, then for the purpose of manana, those verses might be recommended for manana, that is for contemplation and thinking about them, and for removing the doubts, so that you are becoming more clear about it, and also for nididhyasana, which is which is reinforcing the new knowledge and removing the old habitual error in our thinking. So I will explain all that. So for manana nididhyasana purposes, one can recommend certain verses, but for Shravana purpose, one should not go through this recommended verses approach, because it will cut short the opportunity for a proper study. And as it is, the samsara is, carrying us away. The current is already so strong. So let us not compromise on certain basic standards that we have for Vedanta as the means for moksha. So the basic standard is proper Shravana and no compromise. If you are studying a Shastra, a scripture, proper full study. That is what I would recommend. Right? Okay. Having said that, I will come to the discussion on Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. Shravana. Shravana means listening. There are two important aspects, two important advice regarding Shravana, regarding listening to Vedanta. One, Sanyasya Shravanam Kuryat, having renounced, listen to the teachings of Vedanta. First comes renunciation, then comes Shravana. First sannyasa, then Shravana. This is the krama. Krama means the procedure, the sequence. This is the traditionally required sequence. Now, does it mean that a person who is not a sannyasi cannot listen? No. Everybody can listen. If you properly renounce, take to a life of sannyasa, and after that listen, you will be able to devote your mind entirely for listening. A simple thing, for a 1 hour class, I am not able to, I am getting some phone call in the middle of the class. All these samsara disturbances will be there. So, and also there will be something else coming up. There are always concerns and there are always issues that we will have to address. There will be some noise in your background, the mind. So many concerns will be there. If you are a finance professional, you are wondering what is happening to the stock market, right? And also, our brain is a very funny organ. What happens is, when you do japa or when you do the shravana, contemplation, manana, etc., as the mind slows down and starts focus, what you call as coherence, as your capacity for attention becomes more subtle, the residual thought processes which were waiting for your attention, the residual samskaras, the tendencies, the issues, the pending issues in your mind, emotional issues, transactional issues, the omissions and commissions, as they say, we are supposed to have done, not do what we did what we are not supposed to do, or we did in excess. We did not do what we are supposed to do, or we did what we are not supposed to do. All these kind of things, they leave residues. And half-baked participation in something, multitasking, so all these things are inevitable in our everyday life, and these leave residues. So all these residual issues waiting for attention, all of them will start popping up in our mind screen one by one. Only when you sit for japa, all of them will pop up, because of the because that is only when we are becoming available for our inner world, right? So the mind is clamoring for attention, all the pending issues pop up. So sannyasa becomes very, very important precondition for proper shravana, in order for the shravanam to have its intended effect. The shravana or listening What does it mean? Is it like listening to a song, some song or a music? You're also listening, if you see these audiophiles, the people who like to listen to music, it's called mellow. There are some people who are called melomaniac. They are all the time with that headphones, all the time listening to something or the other. So they're called melomaniac. So there are people, there are, so the Shravanam we are talking about, is it something like that? You put your headset and keep on listening to Vedanta. And it's like, I'm always listening to the sounds, the Sanskrit sounds, the mantras, and they have an effect. They talk to your soul directly. You have all kinds of things going on in the name of Shravana these days. Huh? So the Shravana here, listening, is not like listening to music. Listening to Vedanta employs certain important conditions. One, I need to understand what I am listening. It is not simply repeating like a mantra without knowing the meaning, just repeating like Parayanam. There is this Parayanam is a cultural thing. Parayanam is good, very good. But Parayanam is not enough. Shravanam here means not simply listening or Parayanam. Shravanam means listening while understanding the meaning and appreciating the meaning. Appreciating the meaning means what? Appreciating the meaning means listening with what is technically called as pramana buddhi. What they call as pramana buddhi. These are all some buzzwords, it's good to know them. Pramana buddhi means the attitude that what you are listening to is the truth, is valid knowledge. It's a complete surrender to the words of Vedanta, the meaning of the words of Vedanta, complete surrender to that. What do I mean here by complete surrender? I ask you, what is the object on your right side? Suppose if I ask you this question, what will you do? Immediately you will turn your eyes to the right side and see, oh, there is a chair, there is a table, whatever. So when I ask you what is here, I'm asking for a visual detail, right? What is written? Can you please read that and tell me what is written on that paper? You don't, you don't even think. Instantly, we apply our visual faculty. We look with our eyes and see. What is the color? We immediately look with our eyes. We are not thinking, how do I know the color? Should I concentrate on my third eye and try to feel the color by intuition? Should I feel with my hand the prana and then say the vibration and say what color? No, very simple. You say, what is the color? You, without a second thought, you open your eyes, you direct your eyes to the object and you tell the color. This means you have surrendered to the visual faculty or the eyes as the means of revealing visual information. The pramana, the eyes. I have a buddhi, the attitude that the eyes are showing me the true reality of the visual quality of something in front of me, the color or the form. If I want to know what is the color or the form of something, I have to use my eyes, and what my eyes show me is the fact. Now, this is the unquestioning attitude. It's so instinctive, right? It is completely ingrained in us. We never thought about this. See, we never thought about this. And I'm asking you, can you tell me how is the traffic today from Hebbal to Koramangala? I'm asking because I think most of you are Bangalore. I'm using Bangalore areas. Hebbal to Koramangala. Can you just check the traffic? Then what do? You immediately go for that maps, Google Waze or whatever, and then you see the traffic, and then you see, oh, in that area there is a red for 3 kilometers, yellow for 4 kilometers. It is heavy traffic. No, this route is mild traffic, like that, right? Without a second thought. So you consider that as valid knowledge, right? So how much you are surrendered to the means of knowledge, the source of knowledge. You consider I as the source of visual information. Instinctively, absolutely, with no question. So that is called surrendering your buddhi. Buddhi means the thinking faculty, the faculty of knowledge. Surrendering your faculty of knowledge to the instrument of knowledge. That is called pramana buddhi. This is the key fundamental point in Shravana. In Vedanta, in listening to Vedanta, you have to consider the words of Vedanta as the final authority regarding the truth of yourself. If you want to know the true nature of yourself, the absolute truth that is the basis of this experienced world that we see, the duality world that we see, the Brahman, that is the source of everything, that sustains everything, into which everything goes back in the end, that from which everything came, that in which everything is sustained, that unto which everything goes back in the end. That is Brahman, right? It says that Brahman you are, it says. So when we listen to that, you take it as truth. You completely surrender to that information. You allow that information to take over your intellect. You allow that information to take over your thinking completely. So that is Shravana. That is called surrendering to the means of knowledge. That is Pramana Buddhi, surrendering to the means of knowledge, which requires the surrendering is called Shraddha, complete faith in the words of Vedanta. You may say, oh, it is just another faith. No, you have actually faith in your eyes. That is why, with a higher pramana called, a higher means of knowledge called analysis, there may be an optical illusion. You have these days in all these internet news feeds, you have these optical illusions, right? It's very famous nowadays. A normal optical illusion is a mirage. When you are going on now it is summer, so when you are going on the highway, at a distance you can see like water. We all know that mirage. And we all know that it is only an appearance, it is not true. It's optical illusion, correct? Your eyes are showing you that if you don't know the concept of optical illusion, for a moment you think that is true. But when you take a second look and think about it and correlate with your previous experience upon analysis, and going there, you don't see what you saw before. You don't see the water there. You go there, but there is no water. Then you remember, oh, this is what we studied in physics class as mirage and all that, right? So analysis, logical analysis is a more superior to simple visual perception, and that falsifies what the eyes show as true. So you are surrendering to the logic, you are surrendering to the logical analysis. So the logic reigns, has a supremacy to plain perception. There is a guy talking like mimicking, somebody whom you know, some famous person, some actor, somebody. There is a guy who is doing mimicry of that. Then you are saying, hey, how come I hear his voice? And then you look, it is somebody else. Then you understand, oh, it is mimicry. So the ears can also, what you hear need not be true. They say, no, don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear. Always analyze deeply and come to the right conclusion. It's a very famous, what you see is false and what you hear is false. Only what you have really well analyzed and understood is true. It's a very famous sentence. So similarly, Vedanta is talking about, for the sake of talk, for the sake of explaining, I am using this term. Vedanta is talking about a dimension of experience, a dimension of reality. Because we are right now in the relative realm, I am using the word dimension of reality. Vedanta is talking about reality. Everything else is illusion. So, for the sake of understanding, for the sake of initial discourse, I am using this term. Vedanta talks about a certain dimension of reality that is permanent and unchanging. That dimension of reality that is not available for your everyday experience. You cannot experience that truth. You cannot experience it. You can only understand it. You cannot experience what Vedanta says as a normal everyday experience that you are having. You cannot use your senses. You cannot see Brahman with your eyes. You cannot hear Brahman with your ears. You cannot touch Brahman, right? So you cannot experience with your senses. You cannot use your logic and arrive at that as the only indisputable conclusion. You will, if you use logic alone, you will arrive at a lot of conclusions. So scientific or logical analysis or scientific analysis is not going to lead you to what Vedanta is talking about. That is exactly why Vedanta is pramana. The Shruti pramana. The Shruti is revealing to you something that you cannot know by your perception of the five senses, nor by opening your 7 chakras or 8 chakras or whatever, nor by opening your third eye and raising your kundalini. You cannot know. You cannot know that by going into some psychedelic trance. You cannot know that by quantum physics or doing some particle accelerator analysis and all these atomic physics, theoretical science, scientific investigations. You cannot know by that. It can be known only through this revelation, either through the Vedantic texts or through the words of the person who has realized, or both. So this can be known only through the Vedantic revelation. There is no other way to know it. That is why Vedanta is very clear. It says, Nanya Pantha, there is no other way. The only way and the only way, the way to realize the self is by listening and all that it says. So the tradition is very clear that the truth about this, it's known only through Vedanta, or whatever the words of Vedanta told in some other way by somebody else. Basically, what Vedanta talks about, only through the teaching, the self or Brahman can be known. It cannot be known through sensory experience, extrasensory experience, psychedelic experience, or science. It is not the subject matter of that. Just like how you cannot close your ears, stare at the Zoom screen, and try to hear what I'm saying. If you want to listen to these words, you need to employ your ears. If you want to look at my face, you have to use your eyes. You cannot listen to my form. You have to look at the form. You have to listen to the words. Listening happens through ears. Looking happens through eyes. What the eyes can reveal, the ears cannot reveal. What the ears can reveal, the eyes cannot reveal. Similarly, what the ears and eyes can reveal, the touch cannot reveal. What the touch reveals, the other faculties cannot reveal. So each one is a pramana, the means of knowledge, the instrument of knowledge, right? Similarly, the words or the meaning of the word Vedanta, the words of Vedanta, when unfolded by the teacher in the right way, the words of Vedanta are the means of knowledge about Brahman, about God, about you, and about all those things that are not available for my other means of knowledge like perception, inference, logic, scientific investigation, psychedelic experience, whatever transcendental experience, whatever you want, put everything. None of that is going to tell you what Vedanta can tell you. So the subject matter of Vedanta is exclusive domain of Vedanta, or whoever has studied Vedanta. They may talk to you in Japanese or Chinese, but they are telling the same thing. So the subject matter of Vedanta is supposed to be revealed to you through words, and that is the only way. There is no other way. Teaching in silence and all that is okay, but to affirm what you have experienced in silence, it is basically in silence also they are only communicating the abstract understanding directly. All these mystic initiations where they say the guru cleared all the doubts silently, through the silence and all that. It is basically a mind game where they are transferring the information probably in a subtle way, but these are all far-fetched things. When somebody is going to tell you, you are asking me, because I want to talk about the silence, listening in the silence and all that. It's great if it happens, fine. But I am asking you, what is inside your wallet? You have a bag, purse. What is inside the purse? You are opening the purse, looking at what is inside, and telling me, "Oh, I have my wallet, I have my mobile phone." Something you are telling, right? To tell me what is inside your purse, do I have to know do I have to have the capacity to read thoughts, or do you need to tell me a simple fact? Do you need to know how to read thoughts and transmit? So, but what I am getting by subtle transmission is also same information, right? So the problem is, if I am not available to listen to the words, how am I going to be available to listen to the silence, right? So Shravana means listening to the words of Vedanta with the attitude of surrender, shraddha, which is called pramana buddhi. Listening to the words of Vedanta with pramana buddhi. If you forgot what is pramana buddhi, go back to this lecture a few minutes and I am explaining pramana buddhi, right? So listening to the words of Vedanta with pramana buddhi is shravana, proper listening. Now this listening is possible only when my mind is not preoccupied with anything else other than trying to understand what these words mean, and also being completely available to the meaning. If I have the utmost importance, my mind gives attention to something based on how important I consider that thing to be for me. There is a mother in a supermarket, in a crowded supermarket or some mall somewhere, some festival, lot of crowd. The child ran away somewhere. and this mother is frantically searching for the child. Will this mother register anybody or anything else, or will this mother take note of all the nice saris and jewels? Hopefully not. Uh, Usually, a good mother will not take note of anything, and she is only looking for any sign that points to her it is her child. The clothes the child was wearing, or something, anything connected with the child, she's just looking for the child. She cannot think of anything else. So, and even in the there will be 100 people, the child will be somewhere, immediately she will pick up. The peripheral awareness will pick up. All the instincts and her gut feeling, everything is open to find out the child, right? It's completely available for that purpose, correct? So similarly, a person ready to listen, especially to the teachings of Vedanta, is someone who has given up every other interest in life, at least for the time being, for the time during the listening. You have prepared your mind to become completely available right now. You don't care for anything in any of the worlds, in the earth or heaven. You don't care for anything. You want to understand the meaning and take in what is being told. You want to be completely available in the level of the mind, in the level of the senses, in the level of the mind, in the level of the intellect, and at the level of the ego, your identity. To be completely available for these words of Vedanta. With this availability, with this level of being in the presence, and with this level of openness, when one listens, that is called Shravanam, listening to the words of Vedanta. So what will happen is, when you listen like that, what Vedanta is talking, the Vedanta is talking about you, right? You, me. So when Vedanta is talking about the self, when one is listening to that, a small example, you are in a you are in some reunion or alumni or some family gathering or a party or something, some occasion. Dinner is being served, you are all sitting and eating. There are two rows. The person in the back row, they are turning your back to you and you are turning your back to them, but you can hear what they are talking. You are eating, and the one behind you, they are talking something, and then they mention your name. You know this person, and then they're gossiping something about it. Immediately you see, your entire listening faculty is available, and whatever they are talking about that person, whose name happens to be your name, all that information you are listening, not simply listening as information, you are, all those information is coming into you, and you are interpreting it as information about you, right? So we feel, oh, they are talking about me, this is their opinion about me, this is how I am I am considered in their minds, this is what is my social position, so this is what is the opinion of people about me. So you know that you are listening to all that as something that is being told about you, right? That's how you listen to that, correct? Similarly, the Vedanta, when it is talking, for example, no, there is this famous line in Tattva Bodha: Stula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktah. The self is something distinct from the waking, dream, and sleep states. This is a line in Tattva Bodha. The self is something very distinct from, different from the waking state, dream state, and the sleep state. It is available in the waking state and the dream state and in the sleep state, but it is not of the waking state, it is not of the dream state, and it is not of the deep sleep. It is something that is not affected by waking, dream, or sleep. It is a statement in Vedanta teaching. The teacher is telling. So this does not mean about some self. It is talking about you. You are not part of the waking state. You are not part of the dream state. So I should listen to that as I am not part of the waking state. I don't belong to the dream state. I am something different from the waking state personality, from all the dream content of the dream and the dream personality and the sleeping person. I am something different from these three. Though I experience myself in these three contexts of waking, dream, and sleep, I am something fundamentally different. That's how I listen to that. Because it's about me. It's not about some self. That's an attitude, right? So the information, whenever it says Atma, 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 Atma means you. You are Atma. I am Atma. Right? When I listen to Vedanta, when it says Atma, I have to take it as me. So when it talks about Brahman, I understand it as Brahman, the source of everything and all that, God. And then when it says you are that Brahman, then I understand myself as that Brahman. How I am that Brahman, then I analyze the Tattvamasi. There is called, they say Tvam-pada Vichara, Tat-pada Vichara, and all that. And how Tvam and Tat are same. All the Vedanta Prakriyas and all the methods of explanation comes. So when we listen, the whole knowledge reveals my true nature. So that is the attitude with which I listen. Right? Just it, I already have this. See, when I'm listening to a gossip about me, I'm considering all that as myself, but actually, which is not me, it's my illusory self. But whatever I have considered myself to be, when something is talking, somebody is talking about that, I am so and so, I am Yogeshvar. Somebody is talking about blah blah blah, and Yogeshvar. Immediately, I register it as, oh, this blah 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 is about me. This is me. In the same way, when we listen to Vedanta talking about the self, I take it as knowledge about me. Now, this is Shravana. Manana. Manana means contemplation, to think about it. Because Vedanta is telling something that is not our everyday experience. My everyday experience is, say, I went to sleep. I had this dream. Oh, now I am awake. I do this, I do that. I like this, I like that. I want this, I don't want that. Right? This is what I know about me. I don't know about myself as something other than this individual who I think I am. But Vedanta is telling me I am not this individual. That's not your experience. You are experiencing yourself as an individual. Vedanta strikes at your very fundamental idea about yourself. It says you are not this individual. You are not Yogeshwar. You are not, how many people are here? You are not Janakiram. You are not Lavani. You are not Pranav. You are not Roberta. You are not Kanan. You are not Malati. That's what Vedanta is telling. Vedanta is telling I am not Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar is the name, and I am not this. If I cut my name and everything and I experience myself as I am the waking person who wants this, who wants that, who has all these tendencies, it's telling me I am not this. Then what am I? That analyzing how I am not this. So the teacher explains during the class how you are not this individual. Tvam-pada Vichara, it is called. Tvam-pada means in the Tattvamasi, that thou art. So explaining the word you are that. In that statement, it is explaining the word you, what here you means. That, what is that means, and all that. Okay. So that explanation, you are thinking about the explanation and becoming very clear about it and free of all kinds of doubts regarding the meaning. It's not ambiguous. The meaning is very crystal clear for you. That is manana. So the realization happens in manana. If the person is listening perfectly, the manana or this contemplation happens while you listen, right? Right there, realization happens. As you are listening, the realization happens. And nididhyasana is getting rid of the habitual errors in thinking. You are all the time, you know something, but somehow you got used to something else. I have understood. It's very simple. It is overcoming the power of habit and rewiring the brain. In today's language, you can say it as rewiring your brain. You are changing your fundamental ways of thinking and replacing the habitual old ways of thinking with this new ways of thinking and act behaving that is based on this knowledge that you have realized, and becoming totally free from habitual error. That is called nididhyasana. Owning up the knowledge, being committed to the knowledge in thought, word, and action. That is called nididhyasana, right? So the nididhyasana happens. You are right there, established. While listening, you understand, and as you have understood, it becomes, you own up that completely, and it becomes your nature. So Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana happens while you are listening, and it also Manana and Nididhyasana can happen after you are listening, depending on the quality of your listening. If Shravana is perfect, Manana and Nididhyasana are automatic while you are listening. And Nididhyasana is automatic. After the listening is done, Nididhyasana is taken for granted. It happens. But unfortunately, our mind is not entirely available for anything, let alone Vedanta. Even for our most favorite things in life, our mind is not entirely available. We are distracted. Sometimes, we don't get what we want, and even when we get what we want, our mind is not available for enjoying what we like. So when it comes for things that we naturally like, even for that, we are not able to be entirely available. What to tell about this rare quality of wanting to know about the self? Somewhere a little bit of viveka has come, some vairagya has come, so it is not easy, so to make the mind entirely available. So practically speaking, it looks like I understood. It'll appear like you understood, but later when you think about it, something may not be clear. So you think about it on the lines of the methodology of teaching, and then you will understand, and you will clarify, and you will get rid of the doubt, and what the words actually mean in reality. What is the import of that meaning? What is the gravity of the meaning of those words? That will hit you. That is manana, right? So, manana is something like understanding a joke a little late. So there was a guy who, there is a famous joke. There was a prize announced for the one who does not laugh for a joke in an aeroplane. There was all these people, and then there was this Sardarji, the famous joke. Says whoever does not laugh for this comedian's joke, that person will get 1,000 rupees. He told the joke, and everybody laughed, were like almost rolling on the floor. There was this Sardarji who was very serious face. He said, wow, he did not laugh, he managed. And then they gave him 1,000 rupees. After disembarking and after receiving his prize, 1,000 rupees, and while going to the seat, he started laughing like crazy, worse than everybody else. Yes, then what are you laughing now for? He said, only now I understood the joke. So similarly, in Vedanta, when you are listening, it may not make its impact. Then you are thinking about it, removing the gray areas and trying to really see what it means. Oh, only now I can feel what it really means. Oh my God, we say, it makes an impact. We listen to something. Later, when you think about it, it's like a moment of wow, oh, now I really get the gravity of what it means. We say, for many things. So similarly, when it hits you, when the meaning hits you, after you really clarify all the doubts, the gray areas, and then it hits you, that's manana, right? Then being committed to what you have realized in your everyday situation, where your sense of self, for example, I'm waking up from sleep, I'm awake. At that moment, there is a small time gap before getting into the all the activities of the waking state. I have to do this, I have to do that. Your personality kicks in. The waking state personality, your everyday personality kicks in. So before that personality kicks in, it is possible to maintain that udasina bhava, that indifference to the entire content of the waking state, including your ego, your sense of individuality, to maintain that indifference to the whole thing and not participate in that. And to feel yourself, the one, to be conscious of this dimension of you that seems to have come from the waking state, from the sleep to the waking. It looks like you came from the sleep to the waking. But did you really come from the sleep to the waking? Or is the sleep and waking happening in you and you are always the same? This knowledge that you have understood about yourself as something distinct from waking, dream, and sleep, this knowledge, staying committed to this and not considering yourself to be this waking state person, that would be nididhyasana, for example. So like this, there are various aspects. The various aspects of the teaching, when you are committed to, when all that is combined, then you really realize and you are committed to that knowledge, and you don't give in to the old habit. For example, one small practice a lot of sadhus they do is, they say, whenever they want to refer to themselves, they will say, this body, this person, they will mention it in an objective way, like somebody else. This body was born, this body went there, like that they used to talk. So it's a practice. It helps them to objectify their body and mind as something other than it helps them to develop that non-identification, to reinforce that non-identification with their body and mind. That is a small thing that, it's a cultural thing among sadhus to talk like that. uh, you know so that's an example for nididhyasana. What I told about the waking, coming from sleep to the waking, and not identifying and staying committed to this knowledge of myself, my realization of myself as something distinct from waking, dream, and sleep, that would be nididhyasana. Yeah. So the most important thing in shravana manana and nididhyasana is shravana. And in shravana, two things are there: me being physically available, mentally, psychologically, and emotionally available, and having the pramana buddhi to what is being taught. So with these two, I am listening to the teachings. So that is Shravana, the most important. If Shravana is okay, Manana and Nididhyasana automatically will be okay. So the central point is Shravana, and in the central point of Shravana is Pramana Buddhi. Even me being available can be managed, but this Pramana Buddhi is a little difficult to get. It requires some grace, and it requires some real discussion and analysis to really arrive at the Pramana Buddhi nowadays, because of a lot of conceptual and philosophical confusion. We never really thought about, if you look at it, did you ever think that you are actually surrendering to your eyes? You are surrendering your buddhi to the eyes. When I realized it, it was like, wow, this is what we are doing all the time. I am surrendering my buddhi to my visual faculty in order to say this thing, to in order to see or experience the form of an object. I'm instantly employing my eye. There is no thought. So similarly, when it comes to knowledge about the self, you instantly look up to Vedanta. When it comes to transcendental matters, you look up to Vedanta. It's like So that is surrender. Your mind is you treat it as truth. You don't treat it as religious opinion. No? So that is Shravana. So Shravana implies, this is the Pramana Buddhi, is the central point of Shravana. And Manana is for, you have to know some logic, and you need to sit and contemplate and think about it and remove any gray areas. And is that's it. So if the words are not having their intended impact, that means there is some gray area in my thinking. So I think about it again, and then I analyze it and all that, and then the gray area slowly disappear, and the knowledge has its impact, the desired impact. And then nididhyasana would be to stay committed to that impact and not encourage contradictory actions, thoughts, speech, and actions that are not in line with what I have realized. A simple example would be from our everyday life. A person who has quit smoking, you know, he is constantly reminded, in every cigarette, everybody knows smoking is injurious to health. In a movie, when a hero, he takes that cigarette and he smokes, and then he's thinking, they put that line. Nowadays, it is mandatory. They put smoking is injurious to health. Smoking kills. Smoking causes cancer. All that they put right on the screen. You may get annoyed. No, that I know this man, but it does have its impact. It has a subtle impact on the subconscious mind, and you are not comfortable with smoking like how it would be in those days when there was no line. So there is research that has proven that repeated screening of this warning, statutory warning, does have an impact on the smoking, and uh, it prevents many people from taking to smoking, and it also helps people to quit. And they have these huge repulsive pictures of cancer and all that on cigarette packets nowadays. There is a rule, it should take more than 75% of the, or 50, more than 50% of the packaging should be these pictures like that. So in the same, this is reinforcing, because mind is a creature of habit. Man is a creature of habit. When I have had a previous habit that has been reinforced and that is pushing me into action, the wrong knowledge has been habituated, right? For janmas and janmas and janmas, I am habituated to the wrong knowledge. So when I am listening to the right knowledge, when I have understood the right knowledge, it is important to have a committed lifestyle, entire lifestyle, all aspects of my life I have to design in a way that helps me to stay committed to this understanding and doesn't let me slip back. So I have to see all the gray areas where I am dragged into my old habitual thinking and my old habitual ways of seeing myself egoistically. Instead, I have to create a context where I am able to own up the realization of myself according to the knowledge I have received in the Vedanta class. According to the knowledge I have received in Shravana and realized in Manana, I will have to stay committed to that in Nididhyasana with the proper support in every aspect of my life by creating the right conditions that help me to stay committed for this knowledge, which is usually for the purpose of Vedanta, is usually sannyasa, or a life that is lived in the spirit of sannyasa. If you are living an active life, the spirit of sannyasa is there in your mind, and that does not let you get attached to things, and that lets you stay more committed to knowledge. What you call as a spiritual lifestyle, doing certain activities that keep you connected to that, repeated listening that reinforces. So what happens is, next time after you have understood, when you listen, that Shravana becomes Nididhyasana. It helps you to reinforce that knowledge and stay more committed to the knowledge. So that's about it. And the time is over. I will finish the class. If you have any questions, please send it to Ms. Swati, or put it in the chat here, or post your questions on the comments in the YouTube. Right? Thank you. I will do my Shanti mantra now. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.